Welcome to the All Things Endurance podcast. I'm your host, Rick Prince, and I'm super excited to have Dirk Friel on the podcast today. Dirk has been in the endurance space forever. He is a former pro cyclist. He is the co-founder of Peakswear, which is the parent company of TrainingPeaks, and he is also the host of TrainingPeaks Coach Cast podcast. So, Dirk, welcome to the podcast. It's so great to finally have you on.
Yeah, super. I love what you guys are doing, and thank you for having me on, Rick.
Yeah, thank you. Well, likewise with Training Peaks and all the stuff you've done. Um, so aside from that little short intro, maybe you could tell our listeners a little bit more about your personal background, whether it be sport, how you develop Training Peaks, and kind of what you're up to
Uh,
now.
that's a whole lot. I'll try and condense it down. Endurance sports has always been in my family's DNA, I say. I grew up, and my father actually started out as a high school football coach, and he
Ah,
was head track coach at Berthoud High and Rocky Mountain High in Berthoud, Colorado, and Fort Collins, Colorado. And then one day he buys the local running store, and it was up for sale, and it was called Foot of the Rockies. And so now all of a sudden, my dad has a running shoe store. We were running. My parents were obviously runners. Triathlon was picking up, and there was a bike shop next door. And then all of a sudden, one day I hear I'm like 11, 12 years old, and my dad bought the bike shop next door, and he tore down the wall and made basically the world's first triathlon store, which is
I
way ahead of
love
its
it.
time. And so obviously was not successful. But as a 12-year-old, that was just like, oh my Lord, this is amazing.
Coolest thing ever.
So I got a Peugeot race bike, and triathlon was a thing. I thought I'd do triathlon, but I just couldn't get off the bike. I just loved going the distance, and going to
Hmm.
the next town, and I could just travel so much farther than running. So I took up cycling. I did it every day before school, after school, literally in middle school. My parents were like, you have to do a school sport. I was like, no. And, I did basketball, I did football, I did track, but then I also was training for racing. And
Hmm.
finally, when I got to high school, I was like, hey, mom, dad, I really just want to ride my bike. And I know it's not a school sport. Now it is. But I just want to ride my bike. And they said, okay. So I kind of earned my way to just riding and racing my bike. I've been racing every year since 1982, from when I was 12
Awesome.
years old. I did Unbound this year. I'm doing Steamboat Gravel, so I still love it. So along the way, my dad ended up coaching on the side, like through the store, and he started writing articles for Velo News and Triathlete Magazine, and then that developed into a book series, the Training Bible series of books,
Sure.
and many, many more books since then. So along the way, he sold the store. Luckily, he got out from under that and built a coaching business. Um, and so then when I was 19, I dropped out of school and I just moved to Belgium. That's like kind of the only way you could do it. So I took off to Belgium, and I was 3 years amateur in Europe, 2 years pro. That was 1990. I retired from pro racing in 2002, and I started coaching with my father around 1997. But in the late 90s, we were coaching athletes around the entire world, but we were leveraging the fax machine and email attachments. That was like
Hmm.
you had the telephone, email attachments, and the fax machine. And so we had data coming in, heart rate files as attachments. We had, training journals handwritten that were faxed to us.
Wow.
And we just had data fragmented all over the place. And you'd take the fax machine, paper, and three-hole punch it, put it in a three-ring binder for the athlete, and put it up on the shelf behind you. And it was kind of horrible. So I was like, "Hey, Dad, it's the late '90s. There's this thing called the internet. Let's develop a web-based system." So I envisioned, an online calendar, training journal. We could have our workout menus, etc. And luckily, the best man at my wedding and a teammate of mine, Gear Fisher, had a day job as a web developer. And I pitched him on the idea, and he understood our coaching business, and he'd read the books. And so, he had a passion for that. And he kept his day job, and I was still racing pro, and we would just stay up late at night, working on Training Peaks. And that was
Hmm.
1999. We went live in 2000 and took in our first dollar in the fall of 2000. So we're now 25 years into this.
Wow.
So there was no business plan, no fundraising, no VC, none of that. It was just a need that we had as coaches to create a better quality service for athletes. And so we just, bootstrapped it and put it together, and then it kind of just kept growing from there. So that's kind of real quick, like my endurance background, my racing, and how we kickstarted Training Peaks.
That's awesome. I feel like the majority of, really core businesses that do really well and are, really important all start from that
Mm,
basic need, like, right? Like, what do I need that's not out there and how can I solve that problem? And it
yeah,
takes a lot
yeah,
when you're new to the space, right? When you're making the market.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of truth in that. Like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Like you have a business concept, but is there a demand for it?
Yeah.
And so if when you see demand yet there's no product filling that space, that's obviously the sweet spot. And so certainly we were the first to do that, to cater to coaches, which we still do to today. And we had the luxury of riding both the coaching wave as well as a technology wave.
Hmm.
So in a lot of ways, we were pulled along, um, through our business success. And so it was just like it was definitely great timing, but it was a lot of work because you had to do a lot of convincing. There was
Oh yeah.
athletes did not at the beginning. You couldn't just hit stop on your Garmin and within 2 seconds have it in Training Peaks. You had to save it, get home, get a cable, plug it into your computer, download it, then upload it, and it that was a struggle. And even at the Tour de France level, when we started working with, teams, even though they were professionals, it was a struggle to get the pros to upload their data, and the coaches wanted access. So coaches were demanding it. So we were thankful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a heck of a story, man. That is amazing. That is amazing. Um, so, certainly everyone that's listening and everyone perhaps in the entire world appreciates sort of the influence that AI is having across every
Yeah.
industry and certainly in the coaching industry as well. Um, as the founder of Training Peaks, do you ever see AI completely taking over the coaching industry? Do you feel it sort of is more of an ancillary thing, not really a thing? Just want to get your take on where you
Yeah.
see AI fitting in, maybe now as well as sort of into the future as far as the coaching realm is concerned.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't see AI taking over let's say, I don't see it replacing all coaches.
Mhm.
I see it penetrating all coaching. I see smart coaches will end up leveraging AI. So I'm afraid of AI in terms of the things it can do bad for athletes, in terms of if you don't have a coach involved, you could choose a bad AI bot and it's going to give you all the wrong answers and all the wrong training, and you'll plateau early and you won't improve and you'll give up on the sport. But I do see the value in AI being paired with, a well-educated, experienced coach, and that coach can sift through the right answers, the wrong answers, whatever it may be, and then help them become smarter, faster, to the benefit of the athlete. So I definitely see AI being here forever. It's going to evolve. We're at the very kind of beginnings of it right now. We're taking a cautious approach, but we're investing in it within Training Peaks. But ideally, when my vision is that you end up using AI as a coach or as an athlete, and you don't realize you're using AI. Like
Mm,
it could just be machine learning or some algorithm or AI, but it really doesn't matter to the end user. Like they just want to know the answer or the trends
yeah.
or the new thing. So it's more about getting to the right answer to help the coach and athlete be more efficient and effective, is really the viewpoint that we're taking and how we're going about investing in it. So I think it is a threat to coaches that may rely on like the very beginner athlete, but
Hmm.
yet there's a lot of beginner athletes that are in it for the camaraderie
Yeah.
and that social connection and even that accountability to a human. There's a lot that a coach can bring to a beginning athlete. But there's also millions of beginning runners and cyclists out there that don't know the value of human coaching yet.
Sure.
And they're like, okay, I'm only willing to spend $15 a month. What's on offer? Hence, they get a basic AI app. They start working with it. It can help them for sure. It'll give them sound advice, but up to a level.
Yeah.
The better you get, the more important a human coach becomes.
Hmm.
The less human interaction you have with a coach, the earlier you will plateau,
Yeah.
and you won't find those secrets to break through. So yeah, it's here to stay, and but let's try and make, I don't know, the best of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a great point. I think, you see that a lot. I mean, before AI, it still exists, those couch to 5K programs, right? Which are
Yeah,
like for
yeah.
people that are just totally
They've
and,
always
and
been
they're
around. Yeah.
amazing, right?
And they're
And
free. Yeah.
and they're free, yeah, and they get people moving, they get people active, and it's sort of that first step. And maybe they just stop after that. But like you said, if they want to take that next step to being more involved, and like you said, from an AI perspective, that's when obviously the human element comes in as they progress, right? Is that sort of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like if you like our local big 10K running race I do every year is called the Boulder,
Oh
and if
yeah.
you're trying, a lot of people party in it like me, but if you're going for a time, if you're always hitting 52 minutes or and it's like the same thing every year, but your goal is 40 or 45 minutes, that's where the human's going to come in to play to, oh, there's some secrets that a human coach sometimes can just eyeball some secret that you never knew about
Yeah.
that would can unlock 3 minutes in a 10K, like
Yeah.
from one simple thing, whatever it might be. Likewise on the bike, like an experienced coach can look at a cyclist like, oh Lord, we need to do a bike fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the athlete doesn't even know
Yeah.
that that's a thing.
Yeah.
They just like bought the bike, got on it, and started going. But you get the proper bike fit, you get comfortable, your wrists don't hurt anymore, your back doesn't hurt, your neck doesn't hurt. You can get more aero, you can hold the aero position. Uh, now you're talking whatever, 15 minutes on a half, Ironman course.
Yeah.
Um, that's the type of thing that AI, yeah, certainly AI, there will be more AI bike fit bots out there, but you have to first know to go get a bike fit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's that, or whatever, million other secrets, a coach can unravel for you and introduce to your program, it's kind of like free speed in a lot of ways. And too many athletes focus on today's workout. They focus on the intervals and they focus on hitting their peak like every week, trying
Yeah.
to hit a peak. And coaches understand that it's more about the progress over time,
Hmm.
the little wins, and training. Smart training is boring.
Yeah.
It is not sexy.
Yeah.
I need you to go do 2.5 hours on the bike and don't go over 135 heart rate.
Yeah.
You know, Athletes aren't told that enough. And yet when that athlete comes back and the coach looks at the file and says, wait, you averaged 142 heart rate for the and you hit a peak of 155. Well, yeah, but I hit a climb. No, that's not the workout.
Yeah.
We're going to redo this workout. You did not hit the energy system that we are focused on. Yeah. So the point is like that accountability and that's the smarts and everything that like a coach has to juggle is tough right now for AI to juggle.
Yeah.
AI can be very, very focused in one particular area, but to take it all into account, like the full holistic athlete, is certainly not there by any means at all.
Yeah, yeah. My personal example, I'm sure you know Ben Sharp up in Boulder.
Yeah.
So he created our cycling certification. He was the main contributor.
Yeah.
And, if there's, I don't know a lot about a lot of things, but the one thing I always felt pretty comfortable was that, bike, cycling coaching. And then we went up and did these videos with Ben for the certification, and it was so defeating. I'm like, damn it, the one thing I thought I knew, I now know I don't. And he's obviously, coached a world and Olympic champions. He's obviously a great cyclist himself. And it was so humbling, to your point, to work with just such a qualified, incredible coach that the one thing I thought I knew, I'm like, wow, I really need to hire
Right.
this guy because I don't know a damn thing. It's, again, something
Yeah.
AI would certainly never tell me.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many, I guess, tips and tricks. Obviously, intervals are very important, and the X's and O's of coaching are very important. I would say another area where the human excels in that area, oftentimes coaches are ahead of science.
Yes.
And so, are you taking an AI bot telling you what to do tomorrow, but that AI bot is simply leveraging lab results
Yeah.
and, what's proven in the lab, like science. But yet a coach has to take the lab and the science and fit it into a human lifestyle and an actual N of one, like a
Yeah.
human that is not the middle of the bell curve either. Like by definition, every one of us is on one side of the bell curve, right? So on what side of that bell curve are you? And the coach can make that assessment and say, okay, I know what the lab science says, but you know what? We need to tweak it here. And that's the art of coaching.
Yeah.
That does matter in the intervals and the X's and O's.
Yeah.
Another thing I thought of is, when I coach, or I see within myself, when I'm going really well, I know I need to hold back, and I know like, oh, well, oh, I don't want to do that extra interval. I don't want to do tomorrow's hard effort. This is the form I've been looking for, and my race is 7 days away.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of kind of the manufactured offerings, they'll never assess like you're going well, therefore we need to back off. It's always
Right.
push, 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 push,
Yeah. It's
push.
almost it seems counterintuitive.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what athletes want, and that's what they're addicted to. But you need that kind of experienced coach to like pull you back and pull the reins back and say, no, no, no. We got to like massage this. We got to maintain this and like maybe even get a little more fresh. You're gonna hate it.
Yeah.
You're gonna, you know what I mean? But we're gonna do some openers, like
Yeah.
a day or two before the race. We'll do some openers. You'll open up, you'll be feeling good. But that secret sauce is unique for every single athlete. There's
Yeah.
no one way to do it.
Yeah, 100%. That's such a great point you made about coaches sometimes being ahead of the science. That's certainly what we say here at USC is that
Mm,
oftentimes the role of science and research is to understand why something works that a
mm.
coach has already figured out or coaches have figured out versus coming up with their own. So, and while I appreciated that, I never really associated that with AI, but you're absolutely right. That's a huge point because I think sometimes it takes years, right, for the science to catch up and be like, okay, here's the physiological reason why XYZ training protocol works, even though every coach and their mother knows that it works. They just can't explain why, maybe, right?
Yeah, and also I know like a really good friend of mine is Inigo Samian, who works with
Oh,
Team
yeah.
UAE. And we went to school together at CSU. He was at my wedding. Like we go
Oh,
back
nice.
decades. We were teammates, but yet it was like he was prescribing to athletes, more than 120 grams an hour. Like he works with World Tour de France riders. But yet the science was like, no, don't ever go over 90, 75, 90 grams an hour. But all of a sudden now the science is going back in saying, oh, well, a bunch of these athletes can actually absorb more, and
Yeah,
they need to absorb more. That's not this. I'm not saying every athlete needs to do
sure.
120, but like at that level, like it's proven they're doing it, it's working. Okay, then the science comes back in later to try and prove like how and why.
Yeah.
So absolutely true. Yeah, it's like experiment. You can experiment easier out on the open road than you can in the lab, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, going back to the AI element, so what advice would you give to coaches maybe that are listening right now that are,
Mm,
kind of fearful of AI, that maybe not that it's going to replace their job or replace them so much, but even maybe if they're just intimidated by, maybe someone like myself, right, who just turned 50. I'm like, I can barely turn on my computer without it catching fire. Like how do I learn this stuff? How do I navigate this? Any thoughts on that as far as advice you might give to coaches that are, again, maybe it's a two-part question. Afraid the AI might take their job or is coming for their job, and maybe, oh God, I'm still working with Excel spreadsheets, like how do I
yeah.
deal with this?
Well, first of all, I think you do need to be open-minded, and you do need to, I guess, incorporate AI when it's proven to be a good tool to leverage.
Yeah,
You use Excel spreadsheets as a tool today. Are there scripts involved in that are helping you solve some equation faster? That's AI. It's helping
yeah,
you get to an answer faster, or seeing a broader view of the data, and showing you the trends that you can't see, easily enough, right? So I think we need to embrace it, but we can all steer it as we ourselves at Training Peaks enter this and release, features. Like, we need the feedback. You can help guide it as well. We're not here to shove it down your throat. So we do a lot via feedback, from coaches. Um, so I don't think you should be afraid of it, but I think to stay in business, you'll need to adopt it.
gotcha.
Likewise, on the business side, just simply, how can you produce a podcast and leverage AI to come up with the sound bites and the quick video, to post in Instagram. Like, there's a lot of great little AI bots that can do that for you,
Sure.
and that saved you 2 hours worth of work. And the bot can have it done within 10 minutes after the podcast recording. There's a lot of different areas within business or marketing, where you might embrace AI first,
Hmm.
because it's farther ahead,
Yeah,
because it's being leveraged within much broader marketplaces. So that's where you can, like, oh, I see the value here. Or it's, instead of hiring an assistant admin marketing person, you could leverage AI to do a better job of marketing without having
yeah,
to pay somebody, right? So that's the type of, I see it as like these lower level jobs to be done, even within Training Peaks. That's where it should start, because
yeah,
we also need to maintain the trust of the coach. And I don't want to override the coach. I don't want to tell the athlete, go do this workout tomorrow, without the coach knowing it or approving it. Right.
yeah,
So I see a lot of it as like, I want to tee things up to the coach and have them, um, accept, edit, or deny,
yeah,
what's being teed up to them. And then they can filter that information and present it to the athlete. So yeah, I guess I'm asking for feedback from coaches and where they're afraid, or when we are releasing features, even today, like feedback that helps guide our future plans. I don't think you need to be afraid, but I think you will need to adopt and embrace AI for a successful coaching business in the future.
yeah. You made such a great point because I think when people think in the coaching realm, certainly when people think about AI, they purely think of it in terms of, you know, training platforms, right? Is like, okay, how can is it going to just take over the business? Is it, are people just going to be signing up? But you're the first person when I've kind of spoken about AI in the realm of coaching that's mentioned as far as like marketing, Instagram, all these these other business aspects that will allow them if they, figure out how to facilitate that and work with it to be a more efficient coach, a better coach, in kind of segmenting it. Okay, here's your coaching side, your the physiology, art of coaching, and then there's the business side, and we know that can be an incredible amount of time, and I don't think people are maybe talking about that as much. And when we use Endurance Sports Wire as our press release, and they have an AI function, and that's really the
Okay.
only thing with AI that I've ever done. But I'm always like, I think I can write fairly decently, and then I use theirs, so I'm like, oh God, that's so much better. So
Yeah, I mean,
it's amazing.
a lot of people are using Chat GPT, et
Yeah,
cetera. The downside there, if you give like Chat GPT to an athlete and they're going to leverage it to train for whatever event, you have to ask questions to
yeah,
get the answers. But an experienced, educated coach will know what's the right question to ask.
great point.
Whereas an athlete will ask, like, they got cramps in their last race. And so they'll ask the Chat GPT, how much sodium should I take in to prevent cramping? But actually, the reason they're cramping is because they paced it completely wrong. It was a
Right.
100-mile unbound road gravel race. They tried to stay with the front group for, the first 40 miles. They're way over their limit. They spent 2 hours above, in zone 4 for 50 miles, and then they were cramping, with 20 miles to go. Like that literally like has nothing to do with nutrition. And they ate a bunch of, 80, 90 grams of carbohydrate along the way every hour. That has nothing to do with sodium.
Right.
They went out way too hard and they cramped at the end.
Yeah.
Concert violinists cramp. They have to train their muscles to
And
endure. And we all
sure.
talked about durability. There's violinists have to work on durability and
Mhm.
endure, and it has nothing to do with their diet. They don't need to take sodium supplements,
Yeah.
during the orchestra concert. So the point is the athlete oftentimes will ask the wrong question of AI, leading them down the wrong rabbit hole, which opens up maybe more problems.
Yeah.
Whereas the
Yeah.
coach will be like, well, no, actually, you have plenty of sodium. You're fine. You're eating enough carbohydrate. Look at your file. You know,
Yeah.
you spent 2 hours in zone 4 in the first 5 hour, whatever, 50 miles.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's the downside to just giving the tools to the athlete. I feel actually in today's world, like the tools that we have today, that's the downside.
Yeah.
So just saying,
Yeah.
oh yeah, ChatGPT will give you all the answers. It knows everything in the world. It actually only knows what's archived on the web, which doesn't mean it's true.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that's I think the fact that it doesn't necessarily mean it's true and exactly what you said, the outputs are only as good as the inputs, right?
Yeah,
If you put in
right.
something that's not correlated at all to why my, legs exploded at mile 50, then the answer is just is garbage. There's nothing there. And but yet I'm going to
Yeah,
use that to therefore, now take in 1 million grams of sodium, even though that has
I
nothing to do,
know.
right? So,
I know. And there's so many, I always contemplate in my head, like if you talk about nutrition, it's very much like religion. There's no right religion, and there's kind of like no right nutrition. Like there's
mhm,
high fat, there's low fat. Well, we all have examples of athletes on both sides that
sure.
perform at elite world class Olympic level that are high fat and low fat. But then if I buy off the shelf AI bot and it's going to tell me to do this workout tomorrow, well, I guess that's one methodology. Well, whose methodology?
Yeah.
Like another thing with working with a coach is you can believe in the results they've produced. They've written a book, they've written blog articles, they have a podcast. You can investigate them, you can research them, and you can kind of, yeah, it's a placebo effect, but you can believe in their methodology.
Yeah.
And there's no one right methodology. There's reverse periodization, traditional periodization, there's block training. I could go on, right? There's high intensity
Sure.
training, there's pyramidal. Like you can perform great on all of them,
Yeah.
but you need to believe in whatever you're following.
Yeah.
So that's another downfall I see currently with the AI offerings of telling that going directly to the athlete and saying, do this workout tomorrow.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that. You've touched on, or more than just touched, we've spoken really about a lot of the art of coaching, which I think is often, within
Mm,
experienced athletes and experienced coaches, that's a thing. But I feel like for certainly newer athletes, like you were mentioning, it's all the data. What does my Garmin say? The art of coaching is maybe they're not even aware of that. So maybe if you could touch on, certainly from yourself as well as all the coaches that you've worked with at TrainingPeaks, what are some of the key traits of coaches that really exemplify what the art of coaching is, and certainly when it's
uh,
done well?
yeah. I mean, being a great communicator, that's got to be up there, right? Connecting with the athlete. There's nothing better as an athlete of having that fuzzy feeling of a coach getting back to you in the moment.
Yeah,
You finished your workout, 5 seconds later, it's in Training Peaks, and 90 seconds later, your coach gets back to you with a text, with feedback. That's just in time coaching, and that feeling right there gets the athlete addicted to the coach and the human coach. The very same message might come from AI, but you get a different feeling. You're
yeah,
going to work
good
harder. You're
point.
going to be like, somebody on the other end is going to look at this. I want to perform well. If a computer looks at it, who cares, right?
Yeah.
So again, it might be the very same message, but you get a different fuzzy feeling. So when you talk about like connecting and the human element and, good coaches, I think that communication is so key. And that's also where you can make a name for yourself. That's where you can separate yourself. Um, we have these notifications within TrainingPeaks that I just mentioned. It notifies the coach, workout was just done. Coach could be in the dentist waiting room right? And they can review a workout on their mobile app while they're waiting for the dentist and get back to the athlete. And that made their day.
Yeah.
And that athlete oftentimes can't have that conversation with their spouse. Like the spouse just is not an athlete.
Right.
So I guess communication style is up there, and following through with your word. I always, within coaching, if I say something like, I darn well better do it. And if I say on my website, these are the services and this is what you're going to receive, like I better come through with that. Otherwise, athletes leave, reputation goes down, and it's all for naught. So I think really that trust between coach and athlete is very important. If they say, if coach says they're going to get back to you tomorrow, it better happen. So yeah, I guess that's up there. I kind of lost the original question, but yeah, hit me
Yeah, yeah,
again.
it was just sort of the art of coaching, but you're absolutely right. Like before I started US Guy, I worked the majority of my career in the fitness industry, and I remember the first time I got a job as a general manager of a gym, I thought, I would be writing up people for, getting in fights, I don't know, like just doing crazy stuff. And it was all the basics. It was getting back to people in a timely manner, showing up for your shift on time. It was all the basics. And what I've learned, or at least in at least in that environment, was what I thought was basic and everyone understood and everyone did, they don't. And we
Right,
see that now in coaching that, like
right.
sometimes someone will say, "Oh my God, thank you so much for getting back to me within, even just a day." They're like, my other coach, it took him 2 weeks. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So it's really mind-blowing actually.
Yeah, even for beginning athletes, they're searching that out, that connection.
Yeah.
And so if you have track practice or pool, go to, the pool every Wednesday at 3:30, like the coach better be on time and not
Yeah.
late. If you're
100%.
there and the coach isn't there, that's a bad mark. So the basics really matter, and it's kind of easy to separate yourself from the field if you
Yeah.
just do what you say. And so
Right.
yeah, for sure. And the art of coaching, I also think about many other aspects. Like you have to fit a person's work life with their family life, with their racing training life. So that is the art. The lab
Yeah.
says do this, but it's like, no way in hell can we do that this week. You have your daughter's graduation, you're traveling to New York City, you don't have your bike. What does the hotel gym have? Okay, we're going to run stairs. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
for a cyclist, it's going to be this week, every other day, run stairs in your hotel, do 20 flights of stairs a day.
Yeah.
That is the art. How can we adapt? And
Yeah.
adapting to the human and their lifestyle really is where a coach can really shine and get more out of the athlete versus go to New York City for a week and not train,
Right.
and
Right.
have no direction.
Yeah.
That accountability back to the coach while they're on their trip, that's gonna at least maintain their fitness. There's certain key things you can do high intensity work of anything and maintain fitness
Sure.
for 8 days. So yeah, it's another. Yeah, I just think about fitting the lifestyle in with the lab results, and how to make that work and adapt the lab to the human.
Yeah, I've talked to several coaches that, have worked with elite athletes, professional athletes, and they always say that like those are the easiest athletes to work
Right.
with. This is their job. I'll tell them to go out and ride 500 miles a day and come home and take a 3 hour nap and okay, great. Versus
Yeah.
like you said, juggling, okay, you got 3 kids, you have soccer practice for them on Saturday, you work 80 hours a week. Like that's the challenge. You're like the pro athletes, that's
Right.
easy.
So I
So
take back what I said earlier. The newer you are, the more important a coach is.
yeah.
It goes both ways. It kind
It
of
goes,
depends.
it
Yeah.
definitely does. Um, so with respect to Training Peaks, what are some ways that Training Peaks really puts that focus on the human element of coaching? I know,
Mm,
having, had a lot of conversations with like Lee and Jeremy and all those guys. Like, I love the fact that Training Peaks, says, hey, here's this platform. And like you would mention, we obviously appreciate what's going on with AI, but, we think the coach is at the center of the universe. So maybe if you could kind of expand on that a little bit more, how Training Peaks really puts that human element back into the coaching process.
yeah. Well, obviously, we believe in the human coach here and going forth forever. um, we have a coach directory. We want you to connect with a human coach. We promote coaching services. We have a coach match service. So it can be hard finding a coach. If you're in
Yeah.
Boulder, Colorado, and you say you're looking for a cycling coach, I mean, you got 30 or more options, right, in
Yeah.
our coaching directory today. So how do you narrow that down? We have a service for that. We have a coach match service. Fill out, our questionnaire. What are you training for? What are your goals? What's your history? Do you have a heart rate monitor, et cetera? That'll come into our team. We'll review it. A human will review that questionnaire. We'll return to you three coaches that are certified, insured, have gone to Training Peaks University, and they're highly qualified. But we would like you to interview those three coaches.
Hmm.
So here's three coaches we recommend. Please line up a time to speak to them. Who do you connect with? Let us know. You chose Sally. Great. Hey, we'll connect you to Sally and get started. So that is what we've been doing, right, for 25 years, is connecting athletes with coaches, human coaches, to help them reach their goals. But yet technology has a big play between the two, but it should not replace, the coach, as we've been saying. But technology can help enhance that relationship and can help deliver a better quality service to the athlete. Just-in-time coaching, like we mentioned earlier, notifications, your workout of the day, you set your third highest 5-minute peak for the year. This is where technology can come into play. Or how much time in zone 3 did I spend this month last year?
Hmm.
That's a question you might come up with, and technology can play a big role there. Um, we also not enough athletes put post workout comments.
Hmm.
We need that. Like, coaches need that. Even if you aren't coached, like in Training Peaks, when you finish a workout, myself, I don't even go in the kit. Like, I don't enter the house until I sit on my step inside the garage. I open and my workout's already done. It's in Training Peaks. I open up Training Peaks and I'm still sweaty and I'm typing in like how I felt.
Hmm.
Rate of perceived exertion, how hard was it, and a few comments. Um, then I can refer back and I can see those trends over time.
Yeah.
I did this same workout. Am I improving? How did I feel? Do I want to do that workout again? And then when I work with a coach, they can see those comments and reply to them. So obviously that's a big human side of coaching, and it's not all about the numbers. But yeah, we need more athletes putting in comments. It's your
Yeah.
journal, your training journal.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, again, because there's so much data, right? And I feel like every day there's another business that comes out to measure another metric, whether it be sweat or, whatever. But I think
Right.
to your point, like RPE and even just the mental side, right? Like if someone's going
Well,
through a divorce or a hard time at work and every day there's felt mentally fatigued, like, okay, why don't you just take a few days off? But I feel like, again, those are things that, like you said, that's all coach based versus, some algorithm or some AI thing.
yeah. We certainly have daily metrics. We have mood, motivation, sleep quality. Those are things that are subjective. So there's a lot of great feedback you can put in that's subjective in nature that can mean a lot. And oftentimes that subjective, feeling, motivation, mood, that should override the plan to work out for the day.
Agreed.
And so if it's like plan to do these really hard 3 times 20-minute threshold efforts, but things just are not going well, you had 2 hours of sleep last night, motivation is horrible, like don't do the workout.
Yeah.
That's the subjective side of things that should override, again, the human side of training. And I think of it as dynamic loading. Training plans are great the more beginner you are, but you really should be like every day is like a decision to be made. I I, as a coach, planned out the next 2 weeks. That's my thoughts. That's where I think I want to go. But yet, every single day, we're going to adapt and change and have that dynamic loading occur. So it's when you do have those bad nights, that stress, the motivation's low. Hey, you know, ride easy 90 minutes today. I'm going to throw that workout 3 days from now. And maybe you'll do it 2 days from now. I don't know. But we're going to monitor your recovery. And if 2 days from now you're ready, I'm going to grab that workout and pull it forward. Um, so that's where like again that human element comes into play because it isn't just set in stone for the
Yeah.
next 6 months. This is what you're going to do, and everything's going to be perfect. Like obviously with the pros, that doesn't work. So that dynamic loading it can be crucial, and in having that expert that can help you make those decisions along the way.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. I know for myself personally, if I'm not motivated and I keep pushing through it, within like
Oh,
3 or 4 days, I'm like, that's it. I don't want to see the bike for another month or two. I sit on my
yeah,
couch and
yeah,
watch
yeah.
Netflix.
I know. And some athletes will say, yeah, but I don't want to fill out the daily metrics every single day. And I totally get it. So my advice is when things are going amazing, like when I feel like I could have been world champion today, I'm gonna highlight that. Like that was
Yeah.
a 5-star ride. My motivation, everything was top notch, like 5-star. Um, Opposite of that, I'm feeling really bad. I might be getting sick, a lot of stress. I'm gonna, 1-star. I'm gonna get that in there. But a
Mm.
lot of the stuff in the middle, okay, I'm not gonna put a metric because I'm a 3 every day. Like, okay,
Right.
that's like I guess like every day should be a 3,
Yeah.
like that's like okay, I can work with that. So I don't need to like mark it down. But I do definitely record the extremes.
Yeah.
So I can see how that then related to the workout or life or injury rehab or whatever it may be. That's how I kind of recommend it to athletes.
Yeah, great point. And it's a great time saving measure as well, especially for those that
Yeah.
maybe just don't want to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, so this is sort of maybe you need your magic lamp with your genie here, but where do you see
Oh,
the coaching industry 5 to 10 years from now? Just not even so much with Training Peaks, but just kind of as a whole. Again, sort of putting on your future lens cap there.
yeah, definite. Well, technology is going to advance a lot. There's going to be tools to help you spot the trends that you didn't know about. Or like it'll help you cut a lot of corners, save you a lot of time. Obviously, whether it's AI, machine learning, algorithms, whatever. But that will be ideally it's just going to be more seamless. And it's going to be kind of coming and surfacing at the right time, like the right information at the right time. You know what I mean? That's kind of the holy grail. And we do measure a whole lot, as you mentioned. You have HRV, you have sweat, you have, I don't know, hemoglobin, you have continuous glucose monitors, you have core body temperature. Like, are we all going to have to wear all these straps? I think a lot of it will be condensing maybe a lot of these technologies into almost like a wearable that can kind of do it all. I don't know. That's another holy grail, right? Like,
Yeah.
can't I have my arm strap or just have it all on my, watch strap? Instead of wearing 5 different devices at different times of the day. So I hope there's consolidation within technology devices. Like we've certainly seen that happen. You can now get heart rate through your Garmin watch, although it's not that accurate, so I don't
Mhm.
recommend it. But that's going to get better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's never going to end. Like we
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
saying the same thing 10 years ago, right? It's like this is never going to end. There's no end in sight. Things advance, and there's always going to be a new device, a new technology, a new AI, or a new training methodology. We're exploring different ways of durability. How do you train durability? That's kind of like a big topic these days.
Mhm.
Um, it's all going to advance, get better in many ways, but yet there's going to be new problems. So in
Yeah.
a way,
Yeah.
like we're always in the same state of flux,
Yeah.
but certain things get better,
Yeah.
but we're always still experimenting.
Yeah.
Um, so just live with it. And you're going to have to continue to filter new metrics, new training, new et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I was talking to an athlete the other day and we were talking about, just data and how there's so much data. Like what are things to pay attention to? And what I realized is I think kind of like when you look at like body fat and, body composition, each are sort of useless unless you correlate the data. And I think that's another really important role of a coach is to be able to take all this data and correlate it into something meaningful, that they can train by. And it'll be interesting to see, I think, as far as I'm concerned, not only, okay, how many things can come on one gadget or one watch, different metrics, but can this stuff be correlated to be something meaningful for the athlete versus sort of existing
Right.
in isolation? It'll be kind of interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah. How relatable, how important is it for that type of athlete? Does a beginning runner need to have a core body temperature
Right.
sensor? I mean, yeah, it could be value in certain situations, but probably not. It's just more about the basics, So
Yeah,
as you advance as an athlete, maybe you do need to start adding more metrics. So like, can that software AI like adapt with the athlete? We don't need to inundate the beginning athlete with too many things, which certainly happens today.
sure.
So yeah, how relatable is it is definitely a key part of the coach. And you don't. A lot of coaches believe in HRV, and a lot of coaches don't. There's
Right.
no right answer, but what do you believe in? That's what matters.
Yeah.
So yeah, adapting. And so yeah, it again, I see a lot of great development. Science is never ending.
Yeah.
Science is always developing, finding new things out there to try and test and incorporate. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I guess that's what's fun being in the space is that even within TrainingPeaks, it still feels like a startup because you always
Mm.
have a vision of like product 5 years ahead of time,
Yeah.
and that's what you can get in coaching too. Like hopefully you're a lifelong learner. What we're also seeing is lifelong athletes. I mean, myself included. I do ski mountaineering. I do skimo races for 5 months a year, and I train for a different sport. And then I switch and I train for cycling. And as I get older, I need to do more strength training. So the software can adapt, and I can do all of this within TrainingPeaks as I, go through different stages of my life. And we now have athletes that were juniors and U23, and they turned pro, and now they're coaching. And
Yeah.
now they're actually a runner, but they were a Tour de France racer in the past, but now they run and they're doing marathons. So that's also fun too, to see, the evolution of our customer base too.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very cool thing that you guys are doing. Obviously, a great space. Well, Dirk, thank you so much for your time on this. I think I
Yeah.
certainly learned a lot about this. I got a lot of insights into not just what you guys are doing over at Training Peaks, but just the different perspectives. That's the cool thing about these podcasts. I feel like I was saying about Ben Sharp, I go into all these things with sort of this preconceived notion. Okay, I know about Training Peaks. I know about, what I think AI is. And inevitably there's something that like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Like, so I really appreciate your time on this. You had a lot of great
Yeah.
stuff to
You
say.
don't need a podcast to learn. You can,
Definitely not.
people can connect in many different ways today, which is great about Instagram and Twitter, et cetera. That's like they're forms of learning too, like
Yeah.
channels where you can learn. And everybody's an expert in something. So
Yeah.
just connecting goes a long ways. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
100%. Thank you. So if any of our listeners want a discount on our certifications to UESCA, you can use the code ATE75 for $75 off. And then please do go to check out Training Peaks at trainingpeaks.com. That will be on the outro as well. So Dirk, thank you so much. And yeah, hopefully we can, I mean, again, you had so many great things to say. I know you have a pretty vast background. So hopefully maybe we can do another chat sometime again soon.
Let's do it on the bike.
Sounds good. You got to slow down. I'll be on the e-bike, hence a
Oh,
Ducati.
hey,
You can
I'm on a
stay on
gravel
yours.
bike. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all good.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Dirk.
Thanks.